So, we have somewhat of a trade agreement today, and that is, I think, going to get the crypto market to pump. We're also going to talk about why we went down a little bit afterwards today, and prospects for the new market and the trade deal. So, let's get this thing out of the way first. Is it an actual trade agreement? No, it is not an actual trade agreement. It is essentially an understanding that we will reduce tariffs on both sides by 115%. Now, the tariffs on both sides are higher than 115%, so there's still tariffs, but not unbearably high ones, where both countries would basically be shut off from trade for each other. Scott Bessent said it was a way to strategically decouple from China. I don't think that was the intention. If you wanted to strategically decouple from China, you would keep the tariffs and actually decouple, meaning not trade so much with them. Obviously, bringing down the tariffs means that you still want to trade with them and therefore still will be coupled with them. Now, I think this was a win for both sides, both leaders politically, because Donald Trump's obviously numbers, approval ratings were coming down, and the first Chinese shipments of empty containers were coming in, so there were going to be supply shortages, and stuff was going to go up in price. So he really wanted some kind of agreement to pause the trade war. And Xi Jinping, obviously, there's a problem with people working in factories and stuff. If the demand goes down, they can no longer work in factories, and there's going to be a lot of unemployed people. And it's not easy to replace China with India or some other country because of infrastructure, and also because of education and skilled labor. So both sides had a lot staking on this, so that's why they agreed to a stop to the trade war. Did one side bend the knee to the other? No. It was basically an agreement like, you cut yours this much, we'll cut ours the same amount. So generally a decent pause. It's only 90 days, and I don't really think the trade agreement they come up with afterwards is going to be really any better or worse than the one we had before. Maybe like, we let them into a couple of markets and they let us into a couple of markets, and everyone's happy. I don't know if BYD is going to be allowed into our auto market, because if that happens, then it's basically lights out for Tesla and many of our other auto manufacturers, because once you have $20,000 EVs, great for the consumer, us, but bad for Tesla and bad for other auto manufacturers. Obviously, we want access into some of their markets too, but I'm not really sure like how much demand expensive American products will have in China. Although there are uber rich people in China, and they want the really expensive American products, because right now they have to import them. So that's kind of the agreement. Now, the stock market went up by 1,100 points. So you'd think the crypto market would follow up as well. Not exactly. I think altcoins overall did go up a little bit, but Bitcoin itself actually did come down a little bit. Only about 1%, but still kind of strange considering that the stock market went up by so much. So why did that happen? Well, a lot of longs got liquidated. I think a lot of people put in longs once the news came through, and some of the whales did some whale play to actually destroy those longs. So that's why I think we had a couple hundred million, like $500–600 million worth of long liquidations. So that's why we went up. It basically overcame the buying pressure. So I do actually believe like tomorrow and then the next day, as long as there aren't any more long liquidations, we should actually slowly go up, because the trade deal overall is definitely a positive signal. And there is a very good chance that Bitcoin will reach the all-time high or surpass the all-time high, and that will be an overall big boon for altcoins. What's going to rise the most? Most likely some of those meme coins, especially I think those on Sui and those on Base. The Solana ones will do fine as well. I'm not like, saying like you shouldn't buy the Solana ones. I think those are fine, and those are probably safer. But I do think Sui, the Sui ecosystem is going to see more explosive growth in terms of like multipliers. Base is really hard to gauge because Base doesn't actually have a token itself. So I'm not really sure what you would actually use to actually gauge Base. Almost ran into a cat there. They kind of cross the road sometimes. But if you're looking for the highest ROIs and you're willing to take a risk and lose it all, those are probably the ones you want to look at. I still have my SNEC, and I think the Cardano stuff, ecosystem stuff, is going to do well as long as Cardano goes up and one of those projects doesn't magically collapse, which I don't really think they will. So that's kind of how I actually see the market. I'm sure the utility coins will come up as well. I think crypto overall will do very well over the next 3 months. Remember, this trade war pause is only for 90 days, and it remains yet to be seen if they can actually hammer out a deal. Now, as for what kind of deal it is, it doesn't actually matter all that much to us as crypto traders. It could be the exact same deal. I mean, that wouldn't do great for his approval ratings, but to us, it wouldn't really matter. Because as long as there is a trade deal and the global economy doesn't get disrupted again, we should do perfectly fine. So I'm looking to see what kind of trade deal they have. I'm going to guess it's going to be fairly similar to the one we had. Maybe like they gain access into some of our markets and we gain access into some of their markets. But overall, yeah, we didn't go up today because there were long liquidations. I do expect us to go up in the coming days because this is generally a very, very bullish momentum getter for us. Now that the trade war that everyone's been kind of fretting over is gone, and I think some positive consumer sentiment will actually return to the market, and that is huge for crypto. So right now, altcoins are still fairly low in price. They've definitely recovered some, but they're still quite a bit below when Bitcoin was 100,000 last time. So if you sold then and you buy back in now, you're probably still getting 20-30% more, and that's not a bad place to actually come back in. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit the bell notifications button. Thank you, and have a nice day.